for attending the Omaha365 virtual conference. My name is John Moore, and this session is Driving Technology Adoption with Microsoft Stream. A little bit about me. I'm a lead technology architect at Cerner, as well as a Microsoft MVP in the Office Apps and Services category. I've been at Cerner for 13 years, always doing internal IT stuff in end-user computing. I started out being the Mac guy, so I managed all of our Mac devices at Cerner, and then moved into the virtual desktop infrastructure space. So I was a Citrix Zen desktop guy for a while there, for several years. And then over the past 4 or 5 years, I've been in the collaboration and productivity space with Microsoft 365. So I'm a Microsoft 365 architect at Cerner now, have been for a few years. And then outside of work, I really like flying drones, as well as refurbishing old Nintendo consoles. You can find some of them back there in the corner if you look real close. And I also own a wood shop down here in Kansas City, and like doing woodworking as well as 3D printing and CNC milling. So that's a little bit about me. If you want to follow me on Twitter as we go, there's my handle on Twitter is John_Moore. Feel free to @reply me, and we'll have a conversation over there on Twitter. So to dive right in, why video in the enterprise, why video in general? I think it's pretty obvious why video is impactful. I mean, pretty much anything that I buy these days, anything that I try to attempt to accomplish these days, video is involved in some way. If I'm looking to purchase some type of product, I'm typically looking at review videos. If my garbage disposal died a few months ago, and rather than going and getting a home repair book to try to figure out if I could replace this on my own, how involved is it to replace a garbage disposal, I just hopped over to YouTube real quick, realized that it was actually a really easy installation process. And, it saved me a plumber. It saved me, a lot of headaches trying to learn how to do it, because I could just, prop my phone up underneath the sink there and do it in like 10, 15 minutes. So I think it's pretty obvious that video has impacted us in a vastly positive way on the personal side and the consumer side. And what we find is that's bleeding over massively into the enterprise side. According to a Hootsuite research project, they found that they predict that about a 50 to 200% video increase in the enterprise over the next year. And I honestly think that probably they have already gone way beyond that 200% increase because of COVID-19, because of everybody working from home. People are tending to communicate over video much more because it's more personal, and it allows for interaction, and it's just a little bit more humanizing than traditional like email communication and things like that. So as you get large changes in your enterprise, doing change management, new things are coming, you're going to want to lean into video because that tends to resonate the most with your employees. We find that according to a Flipgrid research project that Microsoft did a while back as well, that people remember video better. They tend to remember about 10% of content that they hear. They have a little bit better retention on content that they read. So, instruction manuals, or, hey, everybody, we're moving to Teams, here's the FAQ. But if you can deliver the message over video, typically they will retain about 80% of what they watch over video. So how does it get into the enterprise? Video typically will come from the top down. You may already have executives and leadership in your organization wanting to deliver video messages, especially with work from home. They probably have already wanted to broadcast from their home or record a message from their home and deliver that to the employees, and they rely on the IT organization to get that video out to those employees. My own way of getting into video in the enterprise happened about 2 years ago, and really it was from the perspective of an IT administrator needing to amplify my own efforts. So especially when it comes to Microsoft 365 products and the amount of change that we have with rolling out Exchange Online, then rolling out OneDrive, then rolling out Teams, then Yammer, then SharePoint. It's one after another in waves that you're kind of hitting your employees. And what we found out was that the folks who were communicating that, I was a major part of communicating all of those changes. And I ended up having to go to all of the different organizations' town halls and all these various Teams meetings and things like that, because this group with the right executive that has the right connection to our CIO, they wanted, a personalized, like, hey, Microsoft Teams is coming, here's why it's important, here's why you need to store your stuff in OneDrive. Those types of presentations, they get really, really repetitive, and you have to, by the time you get through everybody, so much has changed that then you got to do it all over again. And I found myself just going to meeting after meeting after meeting, doing the same message over and over again. And there had to be a better way of communicating. For me, that was through video. We started out with creating training classes. We called those Mastering Office 365. And found that those get a little bit dated in the Office 365 world. So we've shifted more to doing like, hey, what's new and exciting in Office 365? What are some tactical tips and tricks, so that you can get a really quick video. Hey, did you know you could do this thing in Outlook? Hey, did you know where this button is in Teams? And then they can get on with their day. So we've shifted to doing more volume of video as quicker, smaller videos, so we can talk to people more frequently rather than just the same message over and over again, and it stays more fresh that way. So why did we pick Microsoft Stream in particular? I think the obvious reason for that is your existing investment in Microsoft 365 Suite. You're watching this video, you're attending this conference because you probably have already made a large investment in Microsoft 365 for Exchange Online, OneDrive, Teams, all of those different platforms. And if you're using Teams especially, Microsoft Stream is the back end already for your Teams recordings if you have recording enabled. So the other reasons for Microsoft Stream and why Microsoft Stream adds really a lot of value to the overall Microsoft 365 suite is that being the video platform for all of 365, it's easy to integrate with all of those other solutions. So in SharePoint, you can embed individual videos and they play back directly on that SharePoint page. But even beyond that, in SharePoint, you can embed an entire stream channel. So we have a channel called Teams Tip Tuesday, and it's got about 30, 40 videos in it right now. And by adding that entire channel, it adds a carousel of videos so you can scroll through it, and it's a lot more, it keeps people on the SharePoint longer because they can watch more than one video if you feature an entire channel. Likewise, you can add a channel or an individual video to a team, whether it's like an executive welcome to the team as a tab, or an entire channel of like, hey, here's how you get started on our team, here's what you need to know. Yammer is really great with integration with Microsoft Stream. If you paste a link in, like every Tuesday, I paste a new Teams video into our Yammer group for Office 365, and it renders the video directly in the Yammer feed. So it's nicely integrated. They can just click play without going to another website to watch that particular video. They can add a comment right where they already are. And then it also integrates in with Power Apps and Forms. If you need like some type of instructions whenever you're filling out a form, or you want people to watch a clip of a video and then answer a question about it, you can do that easily built into Microsoft Forms. One of my favorite ways to share things as an IT administrator is using timestamps. So timestamps work very well in Microsoft Stream. Say that you have a lot of FAQs, a lot of the same question gets asked on Yammer. I've literally created shortcut buttons on my Stream Deck to say, oh yeah, here's how you share a recording in Microsoft Teams, because I recorded a video about how to record Teams meetings. And then I know where the timestamp is, where the second in that video is for how to package that video up and share it with someone. So you can have not only just the URL, but you can have the timestamp on the end of that URL. Whenever you go to share a video, you can check the box and say what second of the video you want it to start at, so they don't have to sit through an hour-long class if that's what that video happens to be. And then the integrations beyond just the obvious 365 integrations of where can you surface video, there's a lot of intelligence and machine learning around Microsoft Stream. So we have facial recognition in Stream. You have the People tab that Stream will actually recognize the different faces that are in a particular video, and it will show a thumbnail of those people under the People tab with a little bubble of where they appear on the timeline. So if you're watching like a town hall that's 2 hours long and you only care what your executive said, you can find their face and then you can see where they appear on the video and jump to that point in the video easily. Another easy way to navigate video is using the transcript. Captioning is there obviously for accessibility needs, but the transcript next to the video is a searchable transcript. And I find that a lot of people use that to find keywords that were said in the video. So because of the processing that happens, the machine learning that's part of the video processing in Azure Media Services, they surface up a nice clean transcript. You can edit that transcript for any mistakes that were made. And say it's a long meeting or a town hall and you just want to know about like the new changes to the corporate mobile phone program, for example. You can just search for that particular keyword and you can find the mention of that. It will jump to that point in the video and you can pick up exactly where that topic was mentioned. You can search for your name in a Teams meeting, for example. And then finally, something that is exciting to me that's coming soon is the voice enhancements in Microsoft Stream that will cut down background noise. So the example that they showed at Microsoft Ignite is the idea of like someone using their phone to record a quick video and they're on a construction site providing an update on the construction project, and there's trucks driving around, there's jackhammers in the background, things like that. It will intelligently reduce those noises and enhance the human voice that it detects in the video. So that's something to look forward to that's powered by the fact that it's in the Microsoft platform. Uploading is extremely easy. It's actually literally drag and drop. When you go to the stream.microsoft.com website, you can just drag your video onto that website. Now, if you drag and drop it just on the homepage area, then it will upload as a personal video, only accessible by you and attached to you. But if you're inside of a group that you own or a channel specifically, you can drag the video into there and it will actually upload it directly to that particular channel, which helps a little bit with the organizational constructs. During the upload process, while the video is uploading, it will go through an uploading process, then it will go through a processing process, great terminology there. And during either of those times, you can adjust your video and you can kind of prep your video to be published. So while it's uploading, you do have the ability to go ahead and add a title and a description. I would recommend adding a description. In those descriptions, you can add hashtags as well. So if you want to do like hashtag Outlook, hashtag a campaign that you're doing for, like your charitable organization or something like that, so that all of the videos with that particular hashtag are more discoverable, you can add those to the description. You can add a thumbnail. Once your video is processed, it will select 3 different pre-canned thumbnails based off of what was in the video. I would encourage you to care about your thumbnail and kind of look at the thumbnail, because I've seen examples of like executive vice presidents in my organization. Their teams didn't necessarily think about the thumbnail, and they got some kind of a weird like paused face where the guy was like, making a weird face. And that was the thumbnail that then got sent to a few thousand people. So this is like a common best practice for like YouTube world, things like that, is care about your thumbnail. Add a thumbnail maybe that has text. Create a thumbnail so that it makes your video more enticing to watch. And you'll see what some of my thumbnails look like later on here. You can turn on captions on these screens. So while your video is uploading, you're going to want to make sure that you enable the caption generation, as well as like things like facial recognition, stuff like that. And then once your video is uploaded and you go to the video details, you can also trim and replace your video. So that's a really handy thing to be able to trim off the beginning and the end of a large, long event. You can trim that down and make it shorter without downloading and editing the video. And if your video needs to be replaced for some reason, you can actually do that in the Microsoft Stream service without changing any of the links to your video. So if you set up some custom permissions and sharing, you can freely replace that video with an updated version without messing up any of those emails that you sent out. And then when it comes to sharing, Microsoft Stream is only accessible to the employees in your company. They do have guest access and external access coming on their roadmap. It's currently slated for the end of year 2020 timeframe, but during that time, it's internally accessible. So we're talking about driving technology adoption within your organization using Microsoft Stream. So it's the video platform for inside of your company. You can do either company-wide sharing. So I typically will check that box at the top of the second screenshot right here that says allow everyone to view this video. That's because Office 365 updates and things, they affect everybody at Cerner. So you can make company-wide videos, or you can share them specifically with specific people, specific Microsoft 365 groups, or you can add them to channels within the Microsoft Stream platform. Now, what are those constructs? There's your personal videos, but then there's 3 organizational constructs beyond just the videos you individually upload and share with individual people. You can create company-wide channels. These are good for videos that are generic to the entire company. You may want to have, you may not have a CEO Yammer group yet, but you want a channel for all of the CEO's town halls, for example. So you could create a company-wide channel where all of those town halls go, that they're broader than any individual group. So you can have it at the top company level. Everybody can see all the videos in these channels. And if you're a stream administrator, you can not allow the creation of these channels so that you can create specific ones as an admin and then not let just anybody create a company-wide channel. At Cerner, we have allowed people to create their own channels, and we haven't had any issues as a result of that. Looking at the next construct, that picture actually covers up the covers up the text there. Every Microsoft group comes with a stream channel, or a stream group. Sorry. The group's construct, if you create a Microsoft team, if you create a Yammer community that's Office 365 connected, if you create an Office 365 group or a Microsoft 365 group from Outlook directly, they all come with a Microsoft Stream group. So any videos that are associated with that group, you upload them through Teams, through any of the other areas of Office 365, they'll land within this Stream group. So it gives you that baked-in organization. The one control that you have here is, as an owner, you can decide whether or not members can upload videos. So all of the owners, they always have upload rights to the group for your Microsoft Stream group. But if you want to lock that down further, you can say that only the owners can upload and the members cannot. We have a mix of both at Cerner. There's some wide open communities where anybody can upload videos, and then there's some communities that are more like IT driven or something like that, where we want to have official messages so that we don't have confusion of people randomly uploading videos. So we've turned off the member uploads on some of the specific groups in our organization. And then finally, at the lowest level, you have your groups, and then inside your groups, you can have channels for those groups. This doesn't change anything with permissions, so you can't say that people can upload videos to this channel but not that channel. Really, the uploading permission is at the overall group level. So it's only a way to organize your videos. It's kind of like creating playlists of videos is a good analogy there. And it will just inherit those permissions. So if members can upload to your group, then members can upload and add videos to any of the channels. And if you have a video, you can actually tag it to multiple channels if you want to. So that video can show up in your Teams Tip Tuesday channel, but also in your channel called Microsoft Teams, where all Teams videos go. So you can have it surface up in multiple places for one particular video without having to re-upload anything. So that's a broad overview of just what is available in Microsoft Stream. Let's talk about like actually making your first videos, some, kind of practical tips and tricks. We'll do a quick demo of how to create your first video as an IT administrator. Before you go and start buying a bunch of gear, that's probably the funnest part for me anyway, is like researching gear and trying to find the coolest thing to buy. I would recommend that you prioritize audio over good video. The audio is definitely going to be the most important aspect of anything that you create, because people will typically, they'll be okay with not seeing your face. They'll be okay with it being your phone or being like lower quality, image quality. But if the audio is bad, if it's scratchy, if it hurts their ears, they'll stop watching it. And if they stop watching it, it doesn't matter how good the quality of the video itself was. If they leave in 3 seconds because you cheaped out on the microphone, then it provided no value to you. So I would always recommend spend your money on the microphone over spending money on the camera setup. Starting out, I would get the microphone first. I typically recommend a lavalier system. I like lavaliers because they're great for sound isolation and you can move around with them really easily. Even if you get a wired lav, they're also typically the cheapest option. A wired lavalier mic can be as low as like $20 on Amazon with a big long extension cable on it. And you can clip that to your shirt, you can stretch it and plug it into your laptop or plug it into an external camera. And then you can just wind that whole thing up and throw it in your backpack. And then now you can make videos anywhere. You're not tied to your desk. If you do set up a desk environment like I've got right here, I've got a pretty, locked down setup with a tripod and lights and stuff like that. You may want to look at a microphone that's on like a boom arm. You might get better quality with that than what a lavalier mic can give you, but you want to be careful. A lot of people run out and buy a Blue Yeti from the company Blue Microphones. That's kind of the gamer standard if you're looking around on YouTube for like what microphone to buy. And it sounds great. It sounds radio quality if you have a good room environment. If you don't have like a PC behind me with the fan running, or my wife sanding on the other side of the wall, or the air conditioner on the other side of the wall humming away. If you don't have that situation and you don't have an echo, then it sounds really, really good. But if you're in like an open office environment or there's background noise, I would recommend looking for, the keyword is a dynamic microphone instead of a condenser microphone. Because while it still sounds incredible, it's a little bit less sensitive to just all of the other ambient noise that might come into the situation. Even if it's a cardioid pattern and it's coming directly out of the front of the microphone, you'll still notice that it'll be very sensitive to any types of bumps in the room and noises that come up. So a dynamic microphone tends to be a little bit more forgiving in those situations. If you do have you can't really control your kids in a work from home scenario, or you can't control whenever somebody like sneezes in an open office, God forbid, in this COVID-19 world that we live in now. If you have things like that come up, then adding music will really help out with that a lot. It not only sets the tone of your video, but practically it covers up a lot of those little background noises and like bumps and creaks and stuff like that your house make as you're recording your video. So it's good to find some music. You just want to make sure that you're allowed to use that track. And typically I'll make the music volume like 5% of the overall volume or 10% of the overall volume. You want it to be very, very low. You don't want your voice to compete with the music. you want it to kind of just add this layer of like background noise coverage underneath everything. The next most important thing, you don't have a video without something to show people. We're talking about the use case specifically of IT instruction and driving technology adoption through showing people why this stuff is cool, showing people how to use the technology that you're rolling out. Obviously, you need to do screen capture. If it's just you talking to the camera of why this is cool technology and you should put your stuff in OneDrive, that's cool, but they don't really have anything to take away if you're not showing them how to use OneDrive to take care of their files. So I have a few recommendations on capturing your screen. The one I'm using right now actually is free. It's called OBS Studio, and it allows you to basically take multiple sources from your computer and your cameras and everything like that, put them together in one area called a scene. So I've got like this slide deck, and then I'm in the lower corner. It's like a picture-in-picture. It allows you to kind of create that scene, and then you can just hit record and go. So there's not a lot of overhead, and you kind of do live editing. So you can actually pause recording, you can start recording again, and kind of do like what I mentioned on the phone, where you're starting and stopping, and you're kind of editing on the fly. So it's a little bit complicated to learn, though. You might want to definitely search out some YouTube videos for how to use OBS Studio. It's typically done for broadcasting, for live streaming, but it has a built-in recorder, so that's kind of handy. Especially if you need to record multiple screens, you can actually lay out multiple screen display captures and record all of them together using OBS. A demo that I want to show you is there's a really cool feature now built right into Microsoft Stream, so you don't have to download anything. You just use Chrome or Microsoft Edge, and you can record quick how-to videos, quick tutorials that are up to 15 minutes in length. And I've got a demo to show you just basically how that works. It's really, really easy, and it's great for an IT administrator to be like, you know, how do I share a file from OneDrive? Or how do I set up my email signature from Outlook? And the way that you go to record this is you just go to the Stream website, so office.com, click on Stream, and that will take you to the Stream homepage here. And then at the top, I've got the little Create button right here. And this is where you can upload a video here, create a group, channel, organizational structure, or you can click Record Screen. So if I click on that, that gives me this little pop-up window inside my browser, and my webcam actually activated right here. I can select what webcam I want to use. This is just the built-in one built into my laptop. I can also select what microphone I want to use. So I could just use like my MacBook Pro microphone. And if I had an external webcam like I'm using right now, I could select that and get even better quality video. So I could say my cam link and my cam link microphone. So now I'm using a wireless microphone. I'm using a $1,000 DSLR style mirrorless camera. And then you hit record. When you click on that, it comes up with this Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome selector. So I can select an entire screen, my laptop screen or my ultra wide over here. I could select a specific application if I want it to just crop down to that app. If I'm showing something in PowerPoint, I could just show only that application. Or if I'm showing something in a browser, I can grab just a specific tab in Edge or Chrome. So say that I grab like my entire laptop screen. The other thing that popped up over here is the little picture-in-picture. So I'll kind of move this over here, and let me show just my screen. So this little picture-in-picture window actually popped up right here so that I can move that around, and if it's not going to cover the screen like over on this side, I can also go ahead and resize it, make it smaller or bigger if I want to. And I'm going to grab that screen and hit share. So now it's going to count down 3, 2, 1, and then I'm ready to record. Anything that I show on my screen now at this point will be captured, including my little picture-in-picture in the bottom corner. So then you would just go over here, you would go into OneDrive, and then you could demonstrate as you're talking You could demonstrate like how to find your file. You can right click on it. You can generate a link by hitting copy link. Here's where you want to select the editing permissions and stuff like that, an expiration date. You want to hit apply, go copy that into your email. So you go through the steps, you explain how to do the thing that you want to explain. You have up to 15 minutes to do that. And then if you need to pause and go to like, okay, now we're going to go over to Microsoft Teams, but you need to make sure that like your Teams chats are nice and clean and you don't have something that you accidentally expose. You could go get your Teams area ready, pause the recording, and then when you're ready to paste that OneDrive link in to continue your demo, you can start recording again. And then you have a 3-second countdown and it picks up right where it left off. So you're doing that live editing where you're, okay, here's step 1, pause the recording. Go to step 2, pause the recording. And you can kind of clip that together to cut out all of the navigation you're doing on your computer and make it a little bit quicker. It's especially clean if you take this tab and you put it on a second monitor. Then you can have your kind of pause and play recording control off screen so that you're not going back to this other tab. But then when you're done with your video, you go ahead and you hit next. You have your entire video right here. So anything that was on your screen, anything that you said was picked up by that microphone, and there's your video ready to go. So then you click upload to stream. You give it a quick title, how to share a file from OneDrive. You can do like, hashtag OneDrive rocks, and you can add hashtags. You can add, a full description of, what you're actually explaining. Give it to everybody in the company, or you want to lock it down and add it to specific groups, you can do that. And then you just simply publish it. You can also save it as a draft. So the upload is done, it's still just processing. If you save it as a draft, then you can click go to my video and it will open up the videos for you. So there's that how to share an item from OneDrive. If I click on that, then it's going to share the video. Let me pause it real quick. And I had this area right here where I had I was starting my recording and then I went over to the OneDrive area and started my demo. So I've got about 10 seconds of extra junk in there. Well, if you click the little ellipses right here, click this little ... then you can select trim video right there. So if I click on that, that brings up this interface where now I can use this little scrubber to go through and get rid of all that junk in the first 10 seconds. And maybe I want to go to just before I clicked the OneDrive button, and I can either drag the end up to that point, or I can select this little button, this little bracket right here, to say this is the beginning of my video. So if I click on that, it will jump to the playhead. And then say that I've got too much here. I don't want to show this controller again because I've only got one screen. So I can go back to where right before I stopped recording, and I can say that's the end of my video. Then I just go up here to the top and I hit apply right there. And it will say, hey, it's going to trim it down. It's going to take a while. I hit continue. And then I can just let that run and process in the cloud. 3, 2, 1. Now, whenever I refresh this video, anything that I show on my screen and that banner goes away at the top, including then my little picture, I can go in here to update those video details. I could make sure the thumbnail looks good. Everything's all set. It's allowed to everybody in the company. So that's that middle button right there. And I can say, okay, now I'm ready to publish because I've cleaned up that video. Now it's published. It's available to the entire company. And from there, I can go and click share and go send this over to Yammer. Go send this and paste it into a Teams channel, something like that. So that's a quick way that you can actually record your screen, trim down the video, and publish and share your video without ever even leaving the Stream website. So it's pretty incredible. You actually don't need any software to do this stuff. Now, my recommendation overall, if you have some money to spend, is go get TechSmith Camtasia. That's what this little screenshot is. And that option for capturing your screen is really great because it can capture your screen, your camera, your microphone, and even your device audio all as separate individual tracks. And then you can edit those inside of that. So it allows you to add like annotations. It allows you to decide to show picture in picture, like I'm showing right now. You can show that later or take away that little video. You can have it shrink down and grow. You basically just have a lot more control, and you can go beyond 15 minutes. So my recommendation is to look at Camtasia for the more rich experience. But for quick videos, the Microsoft Stream built-in recorder is pretty amazing. And then best practices overall, before you hit record, always look at what's going to be recorded. You want to make sure that like your desktop icons are cleaned up. One function that Camtasia has is you can check a box to hide your desktop icons, and then while you're recording, it will actually eliminate all of your desktop icons, but it won't actually delete them. It'll just hide them for you while you're recording. You also want to be aware of what's in your Teams chats. You're probably going to be creating IT administrator-based videos, so you're going to be showing people how to use this technology that you use every day. You want to make sure that you're not, showing your email inbox with something, private in it. You want to make sure that your Teams chats are nice and clean. You want to kind of build like a demo environment for yourself so that you don't accidentally expose anything you don't want to expose. And then something that I do is any names that are in anything. So if I'm going to like demonstrate sharing a file and I share it with Jim on my team, I make sure to get Jim's okay to, hey, I'm going to use you as kind of my test example. Is that cool with you? And he's like, yeah, that's great. Then I'll still blur out like his phone number. If I like mouse over his face inadvertently and show his contact card, I'll still make sure that I like blur out his email address and phone number, personal information like that. Because while I have access to it, I don't want to just display that on a video that he doesn't have control over. So moving beyond just capturing your screen, you can stop there. You can basically get a good microphone. You can only record your screen if you want to, and then you could do that for a long time. If you want to really, make your video more engaging, if you want it to be a little bit more personal, you want to show your face. I think it's important and a good practice for the IT admins to not be this faceless organization behind all the technology that you deliver. I think it's important for people to see the person behind the technology, to see that, hey, we're rolling this out to enable you to do work better, to enable you to have more personal time separated from work. And by showing your face, you show that humanity of your IT organization. So I recommend adding a camera to the mix. My kind of continuum of growing up through camera systems was starting out with your phone. So I got an app called Filmic Pro on iOS. It's only a few dollars, and it allows you to control all of the settings within your phone camera so you can have a really great image quality, get it almost to like a DSLR quality video recording. I moved from there to a webcam, and I kind of was disappointed with webcams, to be honest. You can do USB webcams, but they all kind of are not great. There hasn't been really amazing strides in the past 5+ years when it comes to USB webcams. They're very expensive right now because everybody's trying to get them for all of their conference calling. And your phone actually has better intelligence and has a better camera in it by far. So moving on beyond having to record on my phone all the time, I picked up an action camera. If you're just going to be recording videos and not looking at like a live streaming, a lot of times picking up a small action camera is going to be like where you can stop. And that will be plenty good enough for what you want to do. What I have pictured right here is a device called an Osmo Pocket. It's by DJI, and it's an awesome little 4K camera. If you bump your desk, it's not going to shake because it's on a gimbal, so you can actually move the camera, and it's nice, smooth, steady motion. So if you're going to be recording things where you want to have like B-roll, you want to show off like some headphones or something like that, and you want to like get a shot of like, slow motion going over the headphones on the desk, this will allow you to do that with extremely good quality. The downside of this for me was that I couldn't get it to output to my camera or to my laptop for live streaming. So you can't use it as like a conference call webcam, but you record it separately, you record your laptop separately, and I'll show you what my process is for recording in two separate places. And these can be had for as low as like $250. So they're really not expensive compared to what I'm talking to you on right now, which is a mirrorless camera. The ultimate for me was to go to a mirrorless camera like this. It has a interchangeable lens. I can have that more blurry background. I have way better low light capabilities, better color representation, stuff like that. And but the price goes way up. So this particular model that I'm using is a Panasonic G85, and that with the lens, you're looking at about $1,000 to set up a mirrorless camera setup. But that's going to be by far your best quality for anything that you might remotely care about. And beyond that, you're getting into like cinema cameras that can cost like tens of thousands of dollars for that kind of pro level, creative services type of organizations. You want to think about your background whenever you are going to be on video. You want to have an interesting background, but one that's not overly distracting. That's why I like the mirrorless camera, because my background, while you can see the background and it's kind of interesting, it adds a little bit of like who I am. It's slightly blurry and out of focus, so I kind of stand out off of my background a little bit better. You can even look at green screens. If you download these slides at the end of this presentation, click on that link for Nate Chamberlain, and he goes into great depth about how to pick a green screen, how to light the green screen, and you can basically cut your entire background out, and you can put your talking head in the corner of your screen. Like right now, you're looking at me as a little picture-in-picture. I could actually cut out all of that background and eliminate that background. I just personally haven't done green screens yet. And then you want to think about lighting. You want to have either natural lighting. If you have a window nearby, you can open up that window and kind of light up your face better. You don't want to have the light coming from the back of you because it will just make you into a silhouette. With artificial lighting, you want it to be, at like somewhat of like a just slightly above you level, facing directly at your face. So what my room normally looks like is this. This is just the lights in my room, and I'll switch over to just my camera view. So like I stand out off the background because the background is still blurry because it's like a better camera with a good lens on it. But, my background is way more distracting with like being able to see all of the stuff on that shelf back there, being able to see kind of like the clutter a little bit more. And if you add a light that's directly in front of you, like off to the side just a little bit, but it's like coming directly at your face, and you lower the light behind you and the light above you, then you'll find that you kind of stand out off of your background a little bit better. So if I click on my video lighting button, that lights up this key light that's just out of frame, and it turned down my lights in the background. So now you can't really see all of the details of what's on my shelf. You can kind of see like there's a little rocket back there, but you can't really like see everything. And you'll notice that like, even though there's like color back there, it separates me from the background. I still do have a little bit of light across the top of my head. That's the light from my ceiling directly above me. That kind of lights and adds like a three-dimensional, curve to my head, so I'm not so flat against the background. But I stand out way more. You connect with your audience a lot more if you are lit up separately from what's around you, basically. So artificial lighting, if you can do it, natural lighting, the sun is definitely the most powerful light you'll ever be able to get a hold of. Problem is you just can't really control the sun. My recommendation, if you want to go mirrorless, if you want to go nuts with it, that's fun to do and it's really cool, but don't let it prevent you from starting to make videos. My recommendation is to start small and then build up from there. I started with just my phone, and for the vast majority of the time, you could get away with just using your phone for years and years. The phones are plenty good enough. That just gives you a little bit more options all the way up to like the pro level stuff. So editing, once you record your video, you get it out there, here's how you share a file with OneDrive. It's time to edit that. There's a few options out there as well, like there's options for cameras and options for microphones. There's free options, and then there's better options. The free options on Mac OS, you can download iMovie, and you can do a lot of editing just with iMovie for free. On Windows 10, there's a movie editor built right into the Windows 10 environment. I'm a Mac user, so I don't know specifically a lot about the Windows 10 video editor. On both platforms, though, you can go with something called DaVinci Resolve, which is extremely difficult to use, but it allows you to do like color correction and all the things that the top level stuff will do. It's just got a pretty high learning curve to it. What I like using is kind of in that better category. Again, I use Camtasia most of the time to record everything separately, and then I also edit it in Camtasia. If I'm on the go, like I'm at a conference and I want to do just like a conference update or something like that, I'll typically edit it on my iPad using LumaFusion. So that's an iPad-based app. Those two links in the slides here will take you to some YouTube channels where they focus on how to use LumaFusion on an iPad for mobile editing. And then the best of the best is stuff that I haven't personally used yet, but in the professional world, people typically tend to go towards Adobe Premiere if they're on either Mac or PC, or on Mac, they may look at Apple's Final Cut Pro 10. So both of those have a fairly significant cost associated with them, but they tend to be what the pros use. And then some best practices for editing process. You're going to have a lot of transitions and a lot of like stuff at your disposal. My recommendation is less is more. I typically just have like a fade or a cut from one thing to the other. I don't do a ton of like crazy wipes and spin effects or anything like that. You don't want to annoy people with a lot of extra effects. And these are practical videos. They're mostly instructional videos. You're telling somebody about IT technology, that you're rolling out. So you want to be able to zoom in on the details. You want to be able to like highlight the button that you want them to click on. You want to label things in your video. And that's where something like Camtasia or those really come into handy, because you can drill into specifically that part of Microsoft Teams you're trying to demonstrate, and you can add an arrow to click here to blur your background, click here to mute your microphone. That adds a lot to the value of doing video in general. Like I said, rather than going from conference room to conference room, doing the same presentation over and over again, you're also limited in doing demos on a projector where you can't, zoom in quite as well. You can't explain without going and pointing at the projector screen where you should click. With video, the big benefit is that you can add an arrow now. You can zoom in better than you could in that conference room. So take advantage of that, label the stuff that you want people to click on so that they can follow your instructions easily. So my actual workflow, one of the video series that I do the most is something called Teams Tip Tuesday. It's about a 2-minute video that is something new about Teams every week. How to mute people in a meeting, how to download and record a meeting, stuff like that. So my setup looks exactly like this on my screen right now. I'll show up. I like to tend to move around doing these videos so that like the background changes and is a little bit interesting. But I have my laptop. I have a wireless microphone that I clip to my shirt. And then I have my camera on a tripod. Now, when I go set up, I like to set up in a place that like the background is far away from me. That way it's the most blurry background I can get so that I kind of stand out a little bit off of the background. And then I try to just only have things that fit in my backpack. So I'll carry just a camera, a wireless microphone, and my laptop. And then I record the video, the audio, and the screen all as separate things. So I'll fire up Camtasia and I'll record my screen and my laptop microphone. So the crappy microphone that's in my laptop, I'll record those on there. and then I've got a better camera with a better microphone at my disposal. So what I will do is I will record on the SD card for that particular camera. That way I have the best quality that I can get. And the way that you bring those two together, because they're separated, they're not connected together with any type of a cable, is I press record on both the laptop and the camera, and then I clap my hands. And that creates a spike in the editing software. So when I go to bring it into Camtasia, I want to sync that audio. I basically have the screen recording. I drag my video off my SD card onto that recording so that it's another track right there. And then you can drag the tracks so that those spikes where you clapped your hands at the beginning, you want those to line up perfectly. And now you talking on your camera is in sync with what you were clicking on your laptop. So that's how I bring that together. And then I have really good quality audio, really good quality video, and I have it in sync with my laptop. And then I'll just mute the bad microphone from my laptop. I'll mute that in Camtasia, so I'm only hearing the good wireless microphone. Once that's done, that takes like 5 seconds to do. Once that's done, I'll trim that down, and then I'll go through the video and I'll cut out all of my mess ups. If I mess up while I'm talking, like I actually edited out a part of this video that you're not going to see where a spider crawled on my leg, and I like actually stopped and like got rid of it. I will go do things like that, and I'll cut those out. The way that I identify my mess ups is if I mess up during the recording of a video, I will just stop for a little bit. So there's dead air as you're looking at like the waveform. You'll see a space, and that's right after a mess up. So that will tell me like, okay, I need to look in this area, cut that out, delete it, so that it just goes from like one good take to the next whenever I'm getting my point across. And then I'll add noise reduction. There's noise reduction built into Camtasia. So if there was like an air conditioner hum or something like that, I'll add that to take out that low noise. And then finally, once it's all nice and cleaned up, then I'll go through and I'll think about the instruction that I'm giving. Am I telling people to click on this? Am I telling people to type this thing into a text box? In those areas, then I'll add annotations. I'll add labels to things. I'll point an arrow to a button I want people to click. And then once that's done, I just export it out. So I typically can make these 2-minute Teams videos in about 15 to 20 minutes between recording the thing and editing it. It's a pretty fast workflow once you get the hang of it. And then once it's exported, what I do with it personally is I distribute it to Yammer and SharePoint. So I upload it to Microsoft Stream. That's our internal video service. And then I paste it into Yammer. That way, my community of 3,000 people, they know that there's a new Teams tip video. They can add comments right there and kind of grow the community using that video. And then we have the channel called Teams Tip Tuesday where all of the Teams Tip Tuesday videos are surfaced. Those are on the SharePoint for our Office 365 Yammer group. The SharePoint that's behind it has all of them grouped together in that channel. Then as an MVP, I want to share this externally and help the community. So I make my videos generic enough that I don't have Cerner logos. I blur out all the Cerner names, all that type of stuff. And that enables me to also post it externally. So my workflow for external is I'll post it on YouTube for my YouTube channel, and then I'll post on Twitter, and I'll post on the Microsoft Teams subreddit to help other IT administrators out there so they don't have to recreate the wheel. If they want to use the video because it's generic enough, it works for their organization, I'm happy to share any way that I can. Then my strategy for replying to comments, I do get a fair amount of comments on like both Microsoft Stream and YouTube. I get alerted for comments in Yammer because in Yammer, you're the one creating the post. So if I zoom in a little bit, this post right here where it's like, hey, here's what my video is about, and I publish that. If somebody adds a comment right there, I'll get notified of that because I created that Yammer post. If people comment on the Microsoft Stream video itself, unfortunately, you don't get alerted for that. So my way of dealing with that is I'll typically just check the video after about a week. I'll see if there was any comments out there and I'll answer those. and then I stop looking at it. I don't have the time, honestly, to go and check my videos every day and answer comments on it, because those people who left a comment on stream, they're not going to get notified either that I replied to them. So I try to just reply to the comments in one big pass and then be done with it. But I'll stay in that Yammer community as long as people are asking things or talking about it. I'll stay in Yammer and talk to people over there. And then a recommendation that I have, a little tip that I have, is try to batch out your video if you can. If I can sit down and make like 4 or 5 Teams tip videos and get ahead by like a month, that's better. You want consistency, and that's something that I personally struggle with. I have trouble where I don't feel like making a Teams tip video or something like that, and I'll go a week or 2 without making one. And that really kind of hurts the community. If people are expecting a fresh Teams tip every week, you want to make sure you give that to them. So if you can record multiple videos of those different little tips, all the better. So a couple more real-world examples besides that Teams Tip Tuesday. We've created also a short Outlook video series called Hey Outlook at This, where it's like, hey, did you know that you can do this in Outlook? Hey, did you know that Outlook Mobile does this cool thing, like syncing your contacts? So again, it's real practical information to learn something new and then get on with your day. You don't have to take a whole class about it. We have another one called Working with OneDrive Tips and Tricks. Our adoption team has started doing ones for sharing SharePoint, and that's basically targeted towards community owners that own SharePoint sites. We show them how to do SharePoint lists, how to do SharePoint news posts, building their pages with web parts. With the new Yammer experience coming out, this is 2020, the year of Yammer, we created a series called Unboxing Yammer. So we kind of take the idea of like YouTube unboxing videos, and we say like, hey, here's this new exciting feature. Here's how it works. Here's what you can do with this new feature. And that's targeted at both end users and community owners. And then one that we're going to be starting here once we get back into the office is Gone Fishing with Joe Bossler. Joe Bossler is, he's a guy on my team. He's a lead system engineer who, he's the main guy who reacts to like our reported emails and our phishing emails that people report. So he has a lot of stories about email security, and he understands, how to identify email that might be risky or something like that. So rather than doing the once a year global security training, everybody has to do it to pass some, compliancy checkbox, we thought we could go a step further and provide like a story-based, like, here's what has actually happened in our environment. Here's how this attack was attempted. It was discovered in this way. Here's how we reacted to it. Here's how the person who was attacked, here's how they identified the risk, what they looked for in the email to realize that this was not an email from this person they thought it was from a phishing attempt. So you kind of learn throughout the video of like a better security posture, but you do it in a way that's not like ultra boring security training. So that's something I'm excited to do. And we try to have fun with all of our videos. They all have a fun slant to them. They're real world. We're just talking to our fellow associates. We're not doing this as like, droning on boring videos. We want them to be a little bit fun. So just to show an example of kind of what our videos look like, here's a little blooper reel that we put together. This is just like the first minute of it, where it shows a lot of our mess ups and kind of like shows that, hey, we're just a bunch of guys like trying to make videos, trying to help people use this technology. And the video intro is also our project manager from our team. We basically had him like jumping out, scaring people, telling them cool things about Outlook. We made that into our little video intro. So I'll play that, and then we'll do some takeaways here.
Hey! 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 Oh, look at this! Hey! 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 Oh, look at this!
I'm just gonna make one. Ready right now?
Yeah.
Whoa, there's no red light. At least I don't see one. That's stealth. If you're running on certain time, you're probably late to a meeting already. So why wait to join? Oh, geez. I got myself missed. All right. You can join the Teams meeting. Oh, geez. If you open up the event in the calendar, there'll be a little checkbox. Oh, that's the wrong part. That's the later part.
Just start with it.
However, if you're the one scheduling the meeting, you can flip a. Oh, geez. However, if you're the one scheduling the meeting, there's a little checkbox that you can flip, and it'll. Oh, geez.
So that's kind of a little example of what our stuff looks like. The whole point, right, is to tell people about the technology that you're rolling out to help them adopt and embrace the technology, but you want to have some fun with it. And then here's an example too of using those hashtags that I mentioned, where we did, hey, did you know you can do this? And we use the hashtag, hey, outlook at this, so that we can kind of, dynamically group these together. Even they're in a channel together, but you can kind of follow the hashtag as well that way. So where do we go from here? Have fun, get started right away if you can. You want to use whatever you've got. So if you just got a phone, if you just got your webcam built into your laptop, or if you want to use the Microsoft Stream screen recording that I mentioned, use that. A common thing that people do is they will not get started because they don't have the right gear, and they'll use that as a reason not to do something. So I would just say you're going to have to get past that and just use your phone, or just use the Microsoft Stream website to get something out there. Make little improvements over time. You're going to find that this tweet is very, very true. Your first video is going to be crap. It's going to be really, really bad. My first video that I created, my first 5 videos that I created, they were garbage. I was figuring out like how white balance worked. I was figuring out all this stuff, and I was orange in one video and then I was green in the next video, and everything was all messed up. The audio didn't sound very good, but you've got to not get all the way to the end state from the beginning. You want to make a little progress over time. So, I kind of decided to I'm going to hone in and work on improving my audio quality. So I would work on that until I got it to where I was happy with it. Then, okay, I'm going to do my video quality, get it to where I'm happy with it. Okay, now I want to work on my lighting. And you want to just, every video just a little bit better than the one before it. Whether that comes to gear and quality, or it comes to your message. Like your first video was too long, too rambly. Well, next time try to cut it a little bit more. Next time make your intro a little bit shorter. Kind of make those little progressive improvements. And again, prioritize your audio over your video quality. Always make sure that it sounds good so that people will at least watch it to the end. I would recommend that you watch a lot of YouTube videos about how to make videos. In the notes for this slide, there's about a dozen YouTubers that I follow that talk about how to do color, how to do lighting, how to do storytelling. And also, especially, there are several fellow MVPs and fellow IT administrators that do videos specific to Office 365. So if you want to see what other people are doing out there in the world of Microsoft 365, check out those channels, and I would highly recommend that you subscribe to those so that, one, you can stay up to Office 365 and what's going on within the platform, but it will give you ideas of how these people are communicating to their organizations. And then the next step beyond that is live events. You can do a ton with live events and have even more interactivity with your organization. So beyond just recording tip videos and getting things out there, once you've got people using this stuff, they're going to have a lot of questions. So moving on to live video so that people can get the expert on a video broadcast, and they can ask that person questions and decide where the conversation goes, is incredibly powerful for growing your adoption. And then an inspirational quote, again from Nate Chamberlain, who I linked to for the green screen blog post, is I try to keep in mind that this is my job now. We're working with SaaS applications. You're not patching the servers anymore. You're not maintaining the server uptime anymore. You might be doing operations and maintaining the system and making sure permissions are set right, and doing legal holds and stuff like that. But ultimately, if you want people to use this stuff, it's on you to get them to use it. You're the one who's responsible now for the adoption of these platforms. So if you're tired of getting tickets, if you're tired of going to all of those conference calls over and over again, where you explain why OneDrive is cool for the 80th time, if you're tired of doing that, create videos, create the education so that you don't have to do the stuff that you don't want to do anymore. With that being said, I want to thank you for spending the past hour with me as we talked about a live video. If you want to, or as we talked about recorded video, not live yet. If you want to download these slides, go ahead and scan your screen now in the top corner. You can scan that. That will download the PowerPoint slide deck directly from my OneDrive environment. And again, follow me on Twitter, and if you want to find me on LinkedIn as well, there's my my info where you can talk to me, and we can have a chat out there on social media. So thanks a lot, and I hope you have a great rest of your Omaha 365 virtual conference.